So WAFCON finished on Saturday. I was away for the weekend, so definitely going to talk about congratulations to the Super Falcons, who were able to get number 10 in probably the most exciting final of the weekend, because whatever was happening at the Women's Euros paled in comparison to what happened in Morocco. And what a game it was, with the Super Falcons coming back down from a 2-goal deficit to win in dramatic fashion 3-2. Congratulations to the Super Falcons winning their 10th title. And I think in winning this title, we have to look at WAFCON CAF on the women's side in so many different ways. But today I want to look at specifically what this means for the teams that were there, but then also how this now starts to set up how they were now looking for in 2 years, as the next edition of WAFCON will have World Cup qualifying attached to it. So before we even get any further African and Canadian content, so if you like this, make sure you subscribe to the Africans and let us know what you thought about the tournament. Who is your player of the tournament? To me, it's not a hard conversation. I think how she was involved with everything, and again, it's a biased pick for me because I got to watch her for club, but Esther Okoronkwo, I think, to me, is the player of the tournament. I think she's involved with 2 of the goals in the final. She's involved with other matchups coming through as well. She was just very much solidly involved in all Nigeria's attack. Not to say they couldn't attack without them, but I think Esther Okoronkwo definitely deserves my player of the tournament for me. But it's a little interesting when you take a look at WAFCON and looking at this 2024 edition, and then you compare it with the teams that were in the 2022 edition. And you start to see a little bit of this interesting switch. You have your mainstays, right? South Africa, Nigeria, and even a team like, I'd argue, Morocco now, even though their last appearance before 2022 was in 2000. Morocco is really pushing to establish themselves as a top 3, top 4 side on the continent. And I think it's a fair conversation to have. I think right now Nigeria has shown that their dominance, maybe in a different way. Maybe it's less about them being bad. I don't think they were bad, but I think the continent has clearly continued to develop. And I think you have to show that respect to how teams on the continent are improving. But look at the other teams that are starting to come through, right? Morocco, there, Zambia, showing well, right? Even a side like Botswana, who qualified for the first time in 2022 and again qualified again in 2024. I think they are a side that are really starting to push, and I think that is the encouraging thing. Watching the teams that aren't the big names but are starting to push to be consistent participants, right? Because if you look at the last 3, right, the 2022 participants who made the 2024 edition were just Nigeria, yes, Zambia, yes, Senegal again, yes, Botswana again, and then South Africa and Morocco. I think it's interesting how we look at that top 4 right now in the continent. I think it's still Nigeria, and I still think South Africa does barely get the edge over, but Morocco was pushed. I think Morocco is neck and neck with South Africa in terms of where they are on the continent. A team like Ghana, I think we'll have to wait 2 years and watch them in their preparations to decide if this was just a Cinderella type run. Because I know as a Ghanaian, I wasn't expecting much. I figured if they made the semis, that would be the finals for me. But that they reached the semis, and you could argue they should have won that game. But I think you have to take some time to watch, see what happens with Ghana, see what type of team that they're trying to build there. But then you take those 4 and you see what they were able, those 4 teams, right? And then you look at the quarterfinals, like a team like Mali, I think, are still improving. A team like Algeria have always shown in the last little bit they have the defensive wherewithal, just need scoring prowess. A team like Senegal, showing up here and now starting to push. And then you can't forget side 2 showed well. And now you have conversation in terms of what can they do. A team like DR Congo, though they lost all 3 of their games, I think they had a bad opening matchup against Senegal. But then in the other matchups, I think they afforded well. And they could continue to grow and improve. So I'm very encouraged to see what it is. Like we said earlier, I think Nigeria is showing that they continue to have the depth. They didn't have to rely on so many of the veterans, right? It's a good transition. And I think as Nigeria prepares for 2027 and specifically 2026's WAFCON, it's going to be that conversation of how much do you continue to rely on those mainstays versus playing players who are in great form. And I think ultimately that's going to be the line for how far they get. I think if you're a team who is on the outside looking in, I think you can be encouraged by what a team like Ghana did, because all you need is just to catch fire at the right time. And if this was in 2 years, if this was qualifiers, Ghana would be in the World Cup. And so I'm very much curious to see, as we start WAFCON 2026 qualifications, how the teams start to look and who can catch that fire, who can get the teams in places that they have. Because I'm very much excited to see how it goes. But for now, we congratulate Nigeria for what they've been able to do. That feat is something that you cannot overstate. You simply cannot overstate that level of dominance that they have had. And you have to respect it. And so, as of this point, we're already past the first round of WAFCON 2026 qualifiers. Second round starts in October. And in WAFCON CAF, on the women's side, it is 2-leg playoffs. So the matchups that they have here for the second round are Angola versus Malawi, DR Congo versus South Africa, Ethiopia versus Tanzania, Zambia versus Namibia, Burkina Faso versus Togo, Algeria versus Cameroon, Egypt versus Ghana, Gambia versus Kenya, Benin versus Nigeria, Cape Verde versus Mali, and Senegal versus the Ivory Coast. That might be just interesting based off of how it looks. Once that is set, you continue on. I think that is the final set for going to the third. And I think the winners of those then head over and meet Morocco in the WAFCON set. So WAFCON 2024 is over. Nigeria can enjoy the victory, but in a few months they'll be battling to defend their title and then fight to make the World Cup. So guys, if you watch WAFCON, what did you see? What did you enjoy? Which teams impressed you? Which teams surprised you? Which teams disappointed you? Let me know in the comments below. I think surprised Ghana for sure. Disappointed, I was hoping for a little bit more from a side like Senegal. I've shown, but I would have loved to see them push, and they got it to penalties but just couldn't get it over the line, losing 4-1 to penalties. Zambia continues to be a side that, hey, until they fix the defense, when they play the top sides of the continent, they will be dribbled through. And so for them, it's continue to learn and go from there. But you let me know in the comments below, guys, and as always, I'm gonna stop talking right here.